Hello.
Oop.
Need it right?
We got it. Well, we got you covered. It's the Polar Express. Anyway, I didn't think when he said that. But that shot reminds me of it. Anywho.
Yeah,
so
that basically was like that was part of why I did the whole like the know-it-all kid joke when I did Jordan's birthday dub.
Oh yeah, the like, hey, you know what kind of train this is? Yeah.
Actually, it's a B-142. So,
Cute as this idea is, it honestly makes me feel a little bummed out that the only primary hub world we get in the game is the Isle of Thames. Because this would make for a nice little, way of reaching other sorts of hub worlds.
Oh, like different
It
islands.
would,
I get what you're
yeah.
saying, yeah.
Do you know what I think if you need? Maybe if you treat it like Crash Hub Worlds, where it's like this first little Isle of Tins, they could have like 2 or 3 worlds, but then you could use the train to travel to like different other hubs that have like the other levels. Kind of like explore the different islands in Crash 1.
I mean, they already kind of break it after this point forward. They kind of already break it up like that, where like each act is going to will have 3 chapters to it, 1 through 12.
But if I'm not mistaken, all of those are contained on this one singular island.
Oh yeah, no, all 12 are going to be surrounded. But no, how to put it? I'm agreeing with you in that they absolutely could have done that with that act structure they already were doing, where first 3 on one island, next 3 on the other, for a total of 4 hubs.
I don't need to follow.
He's so cute.
Yeah, you hatch them by standing near them, and we'll talk more about the actual life cycle of these Tims a little bit later. For now, James and I are going to go into our next big act.
Yeah, because considering how tired we were, how slow the adrenaline was last part, we kind of need to splash some water on our faces.
So let's already learn about our next character. Jordy, who are we learning about?
So this is Fiona Demetria. I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name.
Dominic Fisk?
What was that back there?
Oh, jeez.
Hey! Easy there, does it there, Echo?
Unfortunately, due to an accident while diving, her dolphin friend accidentally left her in a rather not serious condition, but it was absolutely
Traumatizing.
she's now worried. Yeah, just know she wants to do this anymore.
I mean,
Poor sea gazer.
Considering she almost drowned, yeah, I can definitely understand the feeling.
The hesitancy.
Yeah, it really is. It really is something, because I guess that's another thing that I will say. It's inevitable. It's inevitable that we'll make a bunch of Nights comparisons, but I will say that is kind of the one thing that I do like about this over Nights, because whereas with Nights, both the original and Journey of Dreams, it's only the 2 people you have to help out, and you're stuck with those 2 people. I mean, technically you are with here too, but in this one, I like the idea of having all these multiple people with their own emotional baggage that you get to help overcome with that. I like that they give us a chance to do that. And some of the cinematics detailing each one, granted, yeah, I know we talked about how some of them could be retooled in terms of fleshing out and whatnot, but I still really like just the overall idea of it. And some of them I actually do think, even as far as the game presents it here, are pretty solid, like what we saw with Fiona there, and as well as a handful of other characters we'll see later in the game.
So something I don't think we brought up right away, but another thing that kind of makes co-op a bit of a last minute addition is that, granted, you can sort of tell they made sure to take this into account, but certain costumes can only be acquired by the first player.
Yes, and it seems to be things that manipulate your surroundings. So, the ability to swim through these pillars, they didn't want player 2 activating it accidentally, since... it kind of makes sense because... Hey, Fiona. Because the camera
primarily... tricked us.
Fiona.
Okay,
whenever I say it like that, I think it's the Farquaad.
Just keep breathing. I'll get you out.
Oh, I forgot about that bit. But yeah, I think it's because James and I were theorizing. It's because the camera primarily follows player 1, and so actions that will immediately move the camera along, such as that's unfortunate.
Yeah, you don't have a
see,
key,
little
dude.
jewel there. No, not the key. If you also notice, we have a key, but if you notice, only the number 1 is highlighted around that icon. And not the 2. The 2 is grayed out or kind of darkened. Yeah, player 2 cannot acquire those costumes.
That's weird.
And there's a good handful of costumes that player 2 can't use.
Why do you think they do that?
I was going to get into that. I believe it's because since the camera predominantly follows player 1, some actions will move the camera along with you, such as if I start swimming inside of this water pillar, you'll notice that the camera immediately follows to show where I'm going. the game did not want to have player 2 doing this because then player 1 wouldn't know where the heck they are, and it's basically like player 1 has to be the host at all times. So since player 1's the one, nice, thank you. Since player 1's the one controlling the main movements, everything has to like basically orbit and circle around that, and player 2 doesn't get a big commanding influence. But I mean, as you just saw there, it is absolutely still a freaking amazing buff to be able to just double jump whenever the game didn't want me to do it.
Yeah, and it's just, again, it stands as a testament to why I understand wanting to follow up on that whole one-button mentality that's been there since the classic Sonic series, but in 3D it doesn't work.
There was an idea there, and I guess and like we were about, I think you and I at the same time were thinking of Kirby, and we were like, because this does have many attributes of Kirby.
This very much feels like a prototype to a 3D Kirby game. I mean, your primary gimmick is that you're collecting costumes, which are pretty much to this game as copy abilities are to Kirby. And, well, Kirby has the advantage in that, for sure, he can use all the neat little abilities that come with them, but he still has some of his more native abilities too, like being able to jump or slide or even hover.
Yeah.
And actually, since we just talked about Kirby,
Speaking of hovering,
yeah. I was about to say, since you mentioned Kirby, that is one thing that I still stand by when it comes to the power-ups. Like, the whole idea of, like, because one of the more infamous things about the power-ups is, again, like, they're kind of fragile in the sense of, like, if you get hit, you lose it, and you have to backtrack in order to get them. And it's like, I think one thing that would probably, maybe not outright fix, but I think would definitely cut down on some of the more tedious aspects of the costumes, is if they treat them kind of like how they treated the copy abilities and Milky Way wishes, where it's like, yeah, you can still find them out in the overworld, but once you find it and collect it, it's pretty much yours to keep.
I mean, that would be a pretty decent idea in and of itself.
That would absolutely help in the case of some things like, say, again, but there are going to be boss... Okay, I'll just spoil it right now. So that Jelly Jolt ability we had, it also has one other additional perk in that if you have a Jelly Jolt equipped, like that, not only can you attack by jumping, but because you're electric yourself, you are immune to all electrical attacks. And I want to say not once, but twice... Oh, hey, Lance.
Oh, hey, Lance.
Hello.
One thing I'll definitely say about this guy in particular is that, like, he's another case of this game's very much wasted potential, considering I always had the sneaking suspicion of what he could have been, but then when the game was over, it's like, I was far off. And it feels like a wasted opportunity when you really think about it, because, you know, honestly, should we even care about spoilers at this point?
Well, it's not like anyone else does.
And we're talking about the books, so I'd say dive into it.
Well, all right,
I see what you're talking about. Yeah,
let's get to the nitty-gritty about that right now. Balan here, I mean, naturally, he represents the light in balance, whereas Lance represents darkness. Balan is the host of the Balan Theater, which we, you know, are a part of now. I think it would have been very much clever if Lance wasn't so much a villain at the end of the day, but was also part of the picture. Like, he's very much just a part of the program, like, representing darkness as Balan does for light.
Right, because I think we were talking about that. It almost has this idea of, like, I almost thought that was the joke, in the sense of I almost thought that was the point. The idea is that his name is Balan to represent balance of oneself, light and dark, and your own. And in that case, we were talking about, and I thought it was actually a really nice idea, was, oh, hang on, new costume.
I will also say, like, it would also excuse the really hokey fighting that the two do in their bouts.
Right, like, it's just a show for them. And Dynamic Dolphin works very similarly to the Jelly Jolt, except I actually get the ability to jump out of those swimming rifts when I start swimming in them, which you can use to reach certain points. But yeah, no, we were talking about that, Jason. That like, it would have been really neat if the idea was that Lance wasn't evil per se, more so like he represented the part of the theater that like he would do a supposedly mean thing of forcing somebody to confront their, you know, depression or their negativity, but in such a way that he provides the conflict with which if they, you know, overcome it, then they feel all the stronger for having done so.
Exactly. Unfortunately, but that's just the problem, though. They don't do that. Lance is a full-on villain in this game, and the justification from what we've been hearing about from the book, if I could be perfectly honest, is a load of horse shit.
So the part, I guess for that matter, Jordy, what is the statue? For that matter,
it's tempting.
Dang it.
I'll get it. I'm gonna get it. I can't do.
Why don't you just use the bubble lift?
Hang on. There we go. If you jump into it, there we go. If you jump into the thing, you dive immediately. Got it. All right. So
Okay,
Jordy, what is Lance's motivation?
Okay, so in the novel, Lance was actually the original maestro of Wonderworld. In fact, his name was Balan before he became Lance.
Oh, so Balan was just named after his own image or made in his own image?
Yes. Because here's what happened. In the novel, Lance grew so close to the humans that it actually destroyed him and made him negative. But, Wonderworld relied heavily on balance, and in order to save Wonderworld, a deed had to be done where a positive aspect was made to restore the balance. And that's where the Balan we know and love came in.
Because apparently he's a creation of Lance.
So in that
Actually,
case, then
it's
I
a
guess
mistranslation. Wonderworld created Balan and Lance, not Lance.
Oh, okay. So it was an automatic. What's the word? I know the
I'm really
word.
sorry for ruining the tension, but I think
Yeah, go for it.
when Jordan was telling me about that mistranslation, I think one of the things that came into mind for me was, and forgive me if I forget some of the names because it's been a while since I looked at, but the way she described it, it made me think that Wonderworld itself is basically just the king from Neverhood, and that Balan and Lance are just Clog and Clayman.
Clayman.
Lance turn out all.
Speaking of which, teleporter.
Hello, teleporter.
It's
You
a
remind
little,
me of a genie.
I could see that a little bit. Basically, it's
Well, the face
it's
kind of like
this-
Clayman's, actually.
Oh my gosh, yeah. This is mainly actually. You know what he also reminds me of? He reminds me of the freaking what's the name of the green jelly guy from Arms?
That was a Helix.
Yeah, Helix.
Helix. His face reminds me a little bit of Helix, like the little weird, just cylindrical head. But yeah, anyway, what teleporter does is it's mainly used to go through semi-transparent walls, just to get through a gap to find goodies on the other side. Trying to think. So back to so in that case, so Wonderworld was basically just trying to repair itself, and so once Lance became too powerful and too dark, it just manifested Balan as a way to hopefully counteract it.
And
Exactly.
this was something that was mistranslated for the English translation.
Of
Yeah,
the
it
novel?
was.
Ugh, gee.
Darn.
That's another thing that this and classic Sega games have in common.
Costume
Dreaded
buildings.
mistranslations.
Darn, because that would have been actually okay, but so that makes a lot of sense to me now. Okay,
Yeah,
so because I'll admit, I was thinking from the novel, wait a minute, if Lance made Balan to be good, why wasn't he just remaining good? No, he always had his own agenda, and Wonderworld was just simply trying to repair itself, white blood cell style.
I mean, when you put it that way, that's not too bad, but again, I do definitely think they missed an opportunity, especially for the sake of this whole good vibes aesthetic they're trying to go for. That, again, if there really was there was no sort of malice intent. It was all just part of the program.
Oh yeah, no. Again, I probably would not. I would not have been against that if the idea was I think I would not have been against that if at the end of the game, if it just showed Lance and Balan just walking down the hallway, giving each other a high five or a handshake of, "Yep, we did good today,"
or a brotherly
people-
hug.
Something like that, I don't know.
Exactly.
And...
Although that being said,
Doop.
personally speaking, I don't really see Lance and Balan as brothers. I see them more as
Well, no, I just mean
Hey, turn a phrase.
Again, they're partners. They would have been partners.
yeah.
Just all. Oh,
I mean, before the whole
Blame Parsec on that one.
mistranslation thing was discovered, all this time well, actually, you know what? I don't know if I should spoil it or not.
we've been talking about spoilers the whole time. We just talking about the ending.
Okay, fine. I always thought of Balan as a clone of Lance.
Which
Because he can clone himself.
Which honestly, I mean, that could have made sense if, like, in that case. Oh my gosh, actually, then in some cases, then that actually makes me now think of if Balan was like to this game what Clank is from Ratchet and Clank, where like he was like maybe Lance was making copies and then Balan was suddenly the nice copy and
yeah, the baseball game kind of stunk.
So what you're telling me, Logan, is that Lance is Clunk?
Yes. Well, no, I meant more Clunk. Well, I meant more Clank as in, like, you know, Clank was the one misfit from a factory of warbots.
I know. Just you make that comparison. I'm just imagining like the Lance being Clunk.
We're never going to get Pi to join this by you mentioning Clunk.
No, she has no interest in Balan. Period.
I thought because she's always all. I was making a joke. She's always on about Clunk.
I know. I was just being funny.
Anyway, I will also say before we drop the whole subject completely, not only do I feel like that was a missed opportunity, Lance gets sticked over big time by the end, and I kind of hate it.
No, I know that was a whole nother thing. Which okay, we will bring it up because the cutscene will play regardless. Don't mind us as we break this level. Woo! Thank you. But we will definitely bring it up. But now I don't know if the book talks about it anymore, or I think I had this conversation with Jordy where the book paints an entirely different picture than what the cutscene itself shows. Like, the most I'll say right now, James, is that the book makes it seem like his retreat was far more intentional and more of a "I'll get you next time," as opposed to how in the game where it almost looks involuntary.
Yeah, no, like let's not kid ourselves. It's pretty obvious that there's a huge disconnect between the game and the novel.
There's something
to the
there.
point where I feel like it was made by completely different writers that were that had little to no interaction with the main writers of the game.
It's possible.
Like, it feels like honestly, I hate to say this, Jordy, but it just, from what I've been hearing about it, it just sounds like bad fan fiction.
I know, but still, I like the idea of it, if nothing else.
Yeah, and I will still say that I appreciate having another window or another view of what this project was turning out to be. And we were talking about this off screen just now, but so okay, one big thing we can say is that, so yes, Yuji Naka is no longer working with Square right now, but Balan Company is still in existence, still in operation.
Yeah, it's still in operation. Like,
okay,
there's no like real big thing going on right now, other than maybe like a contest of some sort or a mild interaction thing going on, but.
With Twitter, right?
I feel like Square's only just keeping them around just to give them some busy work, nothing more.
Well, hopefully, again, maybe they'll hopefully be able to.
Also, can I just say, like, real quick, just you mentioned the Twitter. I feel really bad for whoever's handling the Balan Twitter right now, because if you look at the posts, like, they're really trying their dangest to stay as positive as they can be about the game, despite the fact that no one wants to be positive about the game.
I mean, in some ways, at least they're keeping true to their character.
Yeah.
Either way, it's really, really bad, like Steven said, because I and a bunch of other fans of the game who have been interacting in certain posts have gotten backlash from haters, and a friend of mine from work, he got it the worst, and they made fun of him for being autistic.
Huh.
Yeah, that just you know, that's kind of just a step too far.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not okay.
Yeah, and honestly, that kind of is just the whole point of what I was saying last part, where it's like, that's how I feel. Like, again, even though I do think some of the criticism is valid, I do think that there are points where it feels like people are being, like, needlessly toxic about it, and it's to the point where, and like Jordan said, there have been cases where it's shown, to the point where people are actively being bullied over liking the game, is where I'm all like, okay, I think you're taking it a bit too far, folks.
And that's the part where I'll agree. People are allowed to like what they want to like. It's not something where, like, people can like this. I like the music. I like the art design. I like the characters that are being put on show. I'm not, even though yes, I'll outright tell you what is wrong with the game and where it went wrong. I'm not going to say that you should not like it. It's
like, let's not confuse this. Let's not confuse ourselves though. Like, by and large, this is not a good game in the slightest. But it definitely is not nowhere like garbage tier trash. It's, again, this is very much comparable to a late 2000s Sega game, right down to its overall quality.
like Billy, yeah, like okay, I was about to say Billy Hatcher, but yeah, no, it took risks.
Yeah, Billy
and it
Hatcher was
trying
more
new
like
things.
mid 2000s.
Well, even
Hello,
then,
Angelica.
I'd say it still sort of counts. Like Billy Hatcher, Knight's Journey of Dreams. I'd say Knight's Journey of Dreams is probably the better example of this game, like comparable quality.
And actually, now that I think about it, if that's the case, considering how weirdly nostalgic people are for that era of Sega now, you'd think that would give them more reason to lay off on the game.
Let's not kid ourselves. People just want an excuse to bitch.
Probably, and this was a
Yeah.
grand scapegoat of a thing to do. Also, this is.
I mean, remember when
Fiona's.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, remember
turned his-
Mighty Number 9?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that was
Like,
a huge.
like
big
Balan
thing.
Wonderworld is pretty much the exact same situation. Not so much in the Kickstarter department, but the general principle of getting lambasted just for more than not living up to its expectations.
Got it. And in which case, I will say then I wholeheartedly keep. I don't hate this game, and I wholeheartedly hope that he will get that. Maybe Balan will get his own Mighty Gunvolt burst kind of thing.
That'd be nice.
Or Impossible
but
Lair.
I'm not going to put
Impossible
much
Lair.
for it. So, what should we know about Angelica here?
She's dead.
She's literally become fish food.
Sorry, so again, the puzzle that you just saw there was reflect back the ball, use the jelly jolt on its electrical attack, and use the dolphin diver to jump out of the water current and land on her. And she was a belly dancing whale thing that Fiona turned into. And we'll throw this out there right now. If you look up the concept art for these bosses, I think they did still a pretty remarkable job of taking a 2D design and translating it to 3D.
Yeah, like, again, say whatever you will about Naoto Oshima, but he's definitely a great, like, character designer if nothing else.
He is,
Oh,
yes.
And
He's just not a good game designer, if I can be perfectly frank. Especially considering, again, Balan Wonderworld was made by his company, which also made the likes of Yoshi's New Island, Hey Pikmin.
Well,
Yeah.
honestly, I'm not sure, like, I don't know about the other games, but I feel like using, like, Hey Pikmin and Yoshi's New Island seem like, again, really one of those reaching for reasons to hate things, because I feel like...
No, I would say it's
Well,
just
hang on, I'm not
considering
done
that
yet.
they're- Go
Well,
ahead.
I'm not
oh,
Because my thing is that, like, a lot of the problems that I've seen that people have with those games usually stem from, like, people's expectations of that franchise. Because, like, Yoshi's New Island on its own isn't inherently a bad game. It's just that it just has a lot of issues in it that kind of tend to cheese off a lot of longtime Yoshi fans.
Alright,
That-
okay, so how about I tell you some of their other works, like when they were still
Okay.
cartoon, like Link's the Time Sweeper. Another
Oh my
game that's
God.
is
He
considered...
they made Blinks the Time Sweeper?
Yep, both did in its sequel.
Oh.
Anyway, the Dolphins come for an apology, or to give its apology.
And she decided to move past that previous experience and say, you know what, this is still worth doing.
And she did not bring her protective gear.
Wait a minute, yeah, wait, how is she breathing? Uh-oh.
Fiction.
Well, also, she's close enough to the surface where it probably wouldn't take her too long.
Right.
That's fair.
True, true.
But there we go.
But yeah,
Don't you
just
bust
again,
down.
there's definitely enough to warrant why this game is kind of the dumpster fire that it is.
At least, yeah, in terms of its reception. And oh my god, yeah, I remember. I will still throw this out there. One of my favorite Twitters is still the poorly aged things Twitter, which has
You know what?
Blinks.
I just realized what I said too, and it's like dumpster fire is not the right word, but just very flawed product.
No,
Right,
people
but,
would say dumpster fire, but we ignore those people.
Well, somewhat. Again, this. I think there are some redeeming qualities that, again, is why I would be happy if I got to see more of this world or more of Balan in something more fitting for, you know, a different medium or a different format.
Just, yeah, if there's anything to take from this commentary, like, don't blind yourselves to... Well, first of all, don't go too deep into the rabbit hole to assume that this game is an absolute dumpster fire, but don't go blinding yourselves into thinking that this game is anything more than mediocre.
Make sure to get this game on sale.
Exactly.
Don't do what I did and pay full price.
I'd say
Nice.
$15 is good enough.
I was gonna say, it is on sale technically. I think it's 19 something.
That is a better asking price at the moment. Probably, I would argue 10, only because I am still spiteful of the fact that I remember it was only like 2 or 3 years after Journey of Dreams came out, and I
shit.
saw.
No.
It's
No, it's
You're
big,
not-
it's big.
you're not
No, Jordy. Guys, it's Big Chirpus.
Aww.
Okay,
All you gotta
bounce
do is throw it.
and
All you gotta
breed.
do is throw. Yeah, all you gotta do is throw a Tim on top of the big Tim, and bam, hatches a new egg.
And
it
that's
carries
the story of how the mommy Tim and the daddy Tim had the baby Tim. The end.
Your daddy
Jordy,
Tim
your stories are getting weird.
The daddy Tim tackled her at high speeds, and I'm gonna throw this out there, game designers. I don't know what this Tim trampoline does. I don't know how to use it. I don't think anyone knows how to use these trampolines you put in the game.
I think they might be bugged.
Potentially. But all I know is that the Tower Tims is a cute idea that just show the little marble physics at work. So, okay, got all that off my chest. Join us in the next part as we're going to tackle in a whole new world of bugs.
Bugs?
Bring your bug spray. And your sunscreen. Bye.